Be fabulous.
Oh, that felt good.
Anemoia means to experience nostalgia for a time you have never known. In other words, to experience true anemoia, you must experience genuine nostalgia when, for an example, you see an old photograph or hear sounds that correspond to a time other than the one in which you were born, grew up, and or lived in. For me, that is a very true statement. And I think that's why we get so nostalgic. And I mean, just take a look at this photo. This photo, I well, I think I should start by giving you no context. And if you have been on my Instagram, then you probably have seen this photo. If you've been on my Facebook, you probably have seen this photo as well. Uh, so basically, this photo right here that you're seeing right now, for me, it's nostalgic because it's a photo that I actually built in Minecraft uh, of one of my dreams that I had. And that dream was very nostalgic because I was dreaming that I was in this big, beautiful uh, banquet buffet type of place. And uh, I mean, this place was gorgeous. And here's pictures of the build. Uh, the, and I got to see people who were in my life in the past who are no longer in my life. Uh, by of course passing away, and to me it's very nostalgic because it was a good dream, a very good dream. And I would give anything to go back to be able to have that dream again. I've had similar dreams to that though, which is great too. Um, but yeah, no, I feel like it's a very great dream to have, and it's very nostalgic. Over the course of the last couple of months, I've been thinking about nostalgia a lot. And I've been thinking about reunions and stuff. And I even talked about it in my recent video. By the way, this is part two to that video. And to preface this video, I really wanted to just basically say that it's okay to have nostalgia. What is not okay is sometimes we have a bit too much of nostalgia and we get a bit too nostalgic and we think that, oh, we should always have reunions or reboots and stuff, even if something just ended, let's get it on board, and I think we've all fallen under that spell a couple times. I have a lot. Because I love, you know, being with people that I've been with for a while. You know, they they become family after a while. If you're there on a constant basis or a semi-constant basis, maybe you work with them. They become a part of who you are. They become your family. And you start to trust them and you start to open your arms to them. And so it makes sense, realistically speaking, to want to have reunions and stuff, to get back together with those people. Maybe not relationship wise, but just in general, to be able to see their faces again. That could be a good thing too. Really, with a lot of reunions and revivals and reboots and spin-offs and whatnot, a lot of people get confused about what is a successful reboot slash series or whatever. Like what makes it successful? Why is it so successful? It's not it's not because of the show itself. Let me just tell you that it's a lot of the times the networks they look at the viewership of both cable and now streaming sites, and they basically they crunch numbers. That's how seasons get renewed. That's that's how things keep going. And so if they see something that's really popular back in the day, well, that was really popular back in the day, and people are still talking about it today. There's a market there, and and that market, it may not be a big market, but it's big enough to where a network could put some money into that, whatever it may be, and create some type of spin-off or revival or whatever you want to call it. Uh, and so I think it really is just the fact that it's a nostalgic property and you're basically just bringing it back into the modern age. On paper, this isn't a bad idea, right? This is a great idea because it makes sense. People want to go back to those times, but it doesn't always work, right? There's like Fuller House for me didn't always work because I liked Full House and I liked the vibe of Full House, but Fuller House just did not have that vibe at all. And that's okay because it shows that there was some evolving there that happened. But at the same time, it's like I think it evolved a little too quickly, and that there should have still been good family values there, traditional values, even though they may not be, uh, not rationalized, but they they may not be as popular. I want to take a quick side rant here and talk about uh, the stuff that I experienced as a kid. Um, I grew up on a farm, so you know we, I I was adopted. I grew up on a farm. You know, there was always a chore to do, and I would help with chores. I still help with chores. I still sort of live on a farm, not really though. It's a very small farm. We only have chickens. Uh, so I wouldn't really count it as a farm, but uh, so yeah, we have that, and that's great, but um that house that we lived in, that I grew up in, is a very nostalgic house. And in fact, I'm actually working on a project regarding that. I can't give too much info here, but I'm working on a project. That house, though, like it's been very hard to work on this project because there's been a lot of uh, revisions, a lot of going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out, okay, what would this do in this era, and what would this room have a purpose for, like that type of stuff, and really just like trying to get into the heads of like what would a more modernized look of that particular thing look like, Uh, and of course, I wanted to keep the nostalgic aspects too, and I actually found some really cool like curtains that we actually used to have at that house, and I found them online, and I'm using them in this project. I'm probably already giving away way too much. It's nothing that you guys are gonna see, but if anybody from my family is watching, don't watch this part. Skip this part. Uh, but what I'm trying to say is that there was, I personally really like nostalgia a lot, and I feel anemia a lot too, uh, and now of course these aren't things you can just diagnose, right? They're just things that happen. Uh, I have sometimes very descriptive dreams. And so I like to build those dreams on Minecraft. And that's sort of been my goal for the last couple years. I even have here, let me get it real fast. A lot of dreams in here that I have written down. You can't see it. You really can't. But here, can you see that? I don't think you can see it that well. The camera's not really focusing on it. I'll have to take a picture of it though, or something. I got like fucking 4 pages of this shit almost, um, and I also got a page right there too of it too. Uh, anyways, I started doing that on the 360. It's a very 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 nostalgic console. and it's one of my favorites. And I still play with 360, of course. You've seen my older videos probably. You know that I'm more into it, than the average probably. But yeah, I like nostalgia. I like being able to go back to those times, and I'm glad that I still have my 360 for that, so I could actually continue to do that. Um, I think the point I'm getting at here is that uh, during this project, and of course, I have not built every single dream yet. I don't even think I finished one page yet. But I've been building over the course of the years, and uh, I think back to the dreams that I had, and how nostalgic they are, or they were, and what really stood out. And a lot of times I can get very descriptive on what stood out about these dreams, and that makes it very easy for me to be able to build it, because it's just like, oh, if this building was red, then this building was orange, you know it's just easier for that. And so I think that that really has made me feel this weird feeling of anemia. And uh and don't worry, we're gonna get in. Like, there's other sections of this video, so don't worry. There's gonna be other sections. uh the first section is anemia. Now, this section, I've already talked a little bit about it. Uh, but like I said at the very beginning, it's basically where you feel nostalgic for a time that you didn't live, for the most part. It's one of those things where you just get a vibe from it. I think that's really what it is that you just get a vibe. And for me, I think uh, what helps me with this is. Uh, and I've done like I've watched videos on YouTube regarding Anemoia, but I've also, like, maybe as much as you guys have, I've watched the Backrooms. Uh, I mean, if you haven't seen the Backrooms, it's by Kane Pixels. I mean, there's a big thing going on there. It didn't start out with cane pixels, but it started out with like an image, right? And the image looked very weird, but like nostalgic, and then people started making all these different levels for it, and it just, became a thing for the most part. And so, uh, Caden Pixels, has taken it on, and he's done a more scientific approach, which I think is very new and interesting. And I think that that's sort of one of those things that I feel with, like, the banquet. It's one of those things where, like, whenever I turn on the PTGI shaders, even though they really don't work on my computer, uh, I just get a sense of nostalgia, just looking through those windows and watching the sun shine through them. It really is just an amazing feeling. And honestly, like, this build has taken forever to build. It's like I'm probably not done with it by now. But I've built it a lot lately, and I've had a lot of fun building it because I've been able to build it on a super flat world first, and then I'm going to be building it on the actual dream world that I have. And so I think that's going to be really cool to be able to have, like, dimensions and shit about that. And so that's one of those things where it's like I am, like, very happy that there are forms of that, like, forms of media that you're able to go back and uh, look at nostalgia, and you're able to feel nostalgia for other things. And I think that's just an amazing thing, honestly. uh but now you're probably wondering, well, what about the book of rules that I'm always talking about? Well, let's get into that. The book of rules that I have. Now, a lot of people will probably think that this is an actual book of rules, and maybe I could make it into a book of rules, but it's really not. It's just a list inside my head that I keep note of whenever I look at a TV show. one of the basic rules, for an example, is that I like to take 3 episodes out of a brand new show and watch those episodes. So I'd watch 3 episodes of a show, of a new show. If it catches my attention, then I will go and keep watching it, and I will most likely do a review on it. But if I'm not interested in to the story within the first 3 episodes, because by that point you should already sort of have a story going, uh, then I'm hasta la vista, baby. Like that's really what I am, and so I feel like a lot of the times people don't really understand that. I mean, I think a lot of people do that though, where they take 3 episodes of a show, maybe 4 episodes of a show, and then if they're not interested within those four, then they're hasta la vista. But I still do a review on the show if I hated it. And those tend to be more interesting reviews uh, for me to do. I think that personally, like, when it comes to TV shows, the thing that makes it fail, and I'm gonna go deep here, I'm gonna dig deep, is they go woke. That's truly, truly, truly what they do. This is a nice segue into what I'm about to talk about. Woke dialogue does not work. Like I seriously, and listen. I'm not an expert, okay, but I seriously will sit down and watch what my parents watch. Now CBS is pretty good with their dialogue. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Their shows that they have on there, they're not bad. Okay, in any sense. I think really my main issue is ABC here because their dialogue is so weak, and you can already just tell right off the bat that it wasn't really well thought out. That they're trying to be hip and trendy and new and fresh, and it just doesn't really work. They're using the buzzwords of this generation, but they're using it in a show that's been on air for fucking years, at this point it's no longer trendy or hip, and they're still trying to do that. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, The Rookie has the worst dialogue I've ever seen. Big Sky is also another one that has really bad dialogue. La Brea has really bad dialogue and a really bad plot. Uh, fucking, like, and these are just right off the bat. And it's like I get it. Not every show has to have the best dialogue ever, although kind of it does in a way, because if you don't care about your dialogue, then you don't care about your characters, and then you don't care about the plot. How are we supposed to be interested and delve, like, how are we supposed to like these characters or agree with what these characters are doing if they're just boring and they have little to no dialogue, or they have very weak dialogue where it's like it's just a lot of, maybe it's a sound mixing or something. There's just something about it that's just so weak. There's no real thought put into the dialogue. And I can't even give an example because every single example I'd give is fucking nailed on, right? But it's so like I kind of remember it, but then I also don't remember it at all because it's not memorable. It's not memorable dialogue, and it's not like it's not like I memorize all of Criminal Minds. Like, no, I haven't, of course. Only a crazy person would do that. But at the same time, it's like if you give me a Criminal Minds episode from any season, really any season, okay, the dialogue would be fucking gold, okay? Fucking gold. The plot would be a little weird here and there, but the dialogue would be consistent. The writing in Criminal Minds isn't that bad. I was kind of trying to hope to stay away from talking about Criminal Minds and stuff, this video, but yeah, no, I personally feel that uh, if you give me like even Supernatural has better dialogue. Uh, it's not the best dialogue, but it's okay. It's decent dialogue. Uh, fucking okay. So okay. Here's the good dialogue. Criminal Minds has good dialogue. Okay. Uh, Blue Bloods has decent dialogue. It's not the best, but since it's a CBS show, I'll give it credit because it does have that CBS vibe to it. So, uh, and I actually do happen to like a lot of what CBS puts out there. Uh, what else? Well, the Goldbergs used to have decent dialogue, and then that just sort of went out the window. The middle doesn't really have really great dialogue either. Uh, Legacy doesn't have good dialogue. The originals had great dialogue and really great acting too, on top of that. Except for the fifth season. Jesus Christ, I'm being so negative this video. Uh, there's a lot though. There's a lot that has or had good dialogue. Uh, I think really it's like, and I never really got into Special Victims Unit, but they have decent dialogue. Okay, they have a smart plot. That's what I'll say. They have a smart plot. We'll leave it at that. Chicago PD has the worst fucking dialogue I've ever had, sorry, or ever seen. I really do not like Chicago PD. It's the worst show. It really is. There's no show that is as bad as Chicago PD, in my opinion. It like fucking Chicago PD is the lowest of the bar. I'm sorry, Dick Wolf, but Chicago PD is so stupid, and just you. How are you supposed to root for these people? And are you supposed to root for these people? Because sometimes you do root for these people, then other times you don't root for those people. And so it's like, what we're supposed to do? Um, yeah. So that's what I think is, you know, like that. Those are my examples of really bad dialogue and really good dialogue for the Book of Rules. Uh, Next on my list is plot points. Okay, plot points. Uh, you had to have a good plot, you know. And I see a lot of people like to waste time to get into the plot, right? So like if you're in your fourth season and it takes you 10 episodes just to get somewhere, you're not doing the show right. You're fucking things up. You're not doing it right. You should already know what your fucking story is when you first start season 4. You know? Like when you first start a season, you should know where your story is headed. And in season 4, like you should not wait till the 10th or 12th or 15th episode to get good. Because there's probably only going to be like fucking 16 episodes or maybe 20 episodes if you're lucky. And like a lot of shows nowadays, they don't go past that 20 episode mark, which I think that they should. And I'll get into that in a little bit. Um, but seriously, like a lot of shows are just really badly put together. Like they don't really fucking care. And even shows that are on uh these streaming sites aren't really worth getting the streaming site for either, you know? I feel like your money is better spent on cable because at least there you get, yeah, sure it's ads, but at least you don't get buffering. You know, like at least you don't get buffering with your your shit. Sometimes your satellite might get a little bit fucked up because of the weather, but I'd rather have that than have constant buffering 24/7. Uh, and using up so much bandwidth. Like these fucking streaming sites, they use up a lot of bandwidth, and like fucking that shit is not cheap. So especially for me, like I live in an area like I live in East Bloomfield, Idaho, guys. So like you gotta know that like I don't get good internet here. You know, I get okay-ish internet, barely okay-ish, but I don't get shit out here, and I can't just go and get better internet. I had to actually like go and think about getting better internet, and it has to actually be in area, and we don't have that here. So, uh, but yeah, so and that's what I tell a lot of people is like I don't have good internet. You know, I mean, I would get the streaming sites if I did, but yeah, no, it's anyways. Uh, the reason why I feel like we should have episodes that are longer than, oh, not episodes, but seasons that are longer than 20 episodes is because, and this doesn't really work for every single show, of course, but you get more story out of it. If you have like 26 episodes, you have plenty of time to have filler episodes, which are okay if you have 26 episodes. Like that's completely fucking fine. Like you take all the time you need to get into the story. But the main issue I had that I talked about a little bit before was the fact that like a lot of these shows nowadays only barely get 20 episodes, if that. And what they do with those 20 episodes is that they fucking uh they wait until like halfway through to get somewhere in the plot. You know, and it's like, and this isn't just the first season. Like, okay, if this was just the first season, I'd be like, all right, that's fine. You waited like for a couple of episodes to get into the meat to get into the meat and the potatoes of the seasons, you know, whatever, like of the show. Like it, like that's the introductory piece. Uh, Especially if you don't have a uh prequel before that. You know, like if you don't have like a direct prequel. Uh, and so I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions in a lot of ways when it comes to television. It's like they think that, oh, if we wait till the last second to add in a story, it's still a story, and then they wonder why they don't get renewed. It's like, well, it's because you take forever to get somewhere, and then once you actually get somewhere, you're there for only 2 seconds, and then you're not there. You know, like it's the end of the season, and then we have to wait fucking forever for another season of it. So it's not, you know, and then a lot of shows take forever to make too. So I think having 26 episodes is a good thing for a lot of shows. Not for the Goldbergs, though. The Goldbergs should have ended a long time ago. Burn that shit with fire. But uh no, but seriously, it's like, and here's the thing, the Goldbergs, let's take and let's take another quick side rant. The Goldbergs is one of the, like it used to be so good. It really did. Like the first couple seasons, it was funny. Like I would say from seasons 1 to 3, it was pretty funny. After that, it just got boring for me. I dipped out on that show early on because it just, yeah, no, it got repetitive. Uh, there's ways that you can have 26 episodes in each season without being boring or repetitive. Of course, you're gonna need a formula that works, but it's okay to switch it up every now and again. Like that's fine. And the Goldbergs just doesn't want to do this, and when they do, they make the smallest changes in the world. So they just make the smallest changes in the world, and so how are we supposed to really differentiate it from other episodes? Uh, this leads me into my Narnia review. Now, uh, here's the thing: I did read the books. I'm gonna reread them here too. Not here in this video, but I'm gonna go for another reread of them. But here's what I want to say though about it. About it. About. I want to say that uh, I heard about Netflix and their deals with Narnia and them making a film and a series. Okay, that's something that I heard about, and I've known about that for a while, and I've kind of talked about this on Twitter too. I am still boycotting Netflix because of Cuties, and Cuties now is losing. No, sorry, not Cuties. Fucking Netflix now is losing fucking money because people are not wanting to pay for their raising prices because of inflation. So that's one of those things where you have to really think about how you're going to deal with inflation and stuff. But uh, yeah, karma's a bitch, Netflix. Karma is a bitch. And like, I still want this, you know, this series and this, you know, these films to go well, right? I still want them to go really well for Narnia because that's a big win for Narnia fans. I'll have to find a way to watch it, you know, somehow. Maybe they'll put it on DVD and I'll be able to watch it. Uh, but I don't want to support Netflix unless they really truly apologize for the whole cuties controversy. And even then, it's like I don't trust them with Narnia because that's meant for children. And that, I mean, like, of course, like if you grew up with the books, then of course you have a soft spot for the books and what they stand for, and so they're more sentimental to you, and that's okay. Honestly, if you want to go back to that time, go back to those nostalgic feels of reading the books for the very first time, like that's you're I don't blame you. They are really good books. Uh, the thing is that with that being said, like, do we really trust Netflix with another kids program that they could easily over sexualize? Do we really want to trust them with that? How? I was lucky that we were able to uh, trust Disney with the Walden Media films. Uh, but that's, I guess, that was a different era back in the day. Speaking of those films, I have really better, like I said. So I've only watched the two. Uh, I watched Lion Witch the Wardrobe and I watched Prince Caspian. And I gotta say, I like Prince Caspian a lot better still. The plot is better, the production value is better, the the whole fucking like it's more fast paced and it's just better altogether. It doesn't take forever to get to the fucking story, and it's longer too. It feels good. It feels good. It's really good film, and I'd give it. I think as a kid I would have given it like a 10. I'd give it about an 8. It's still pretty good. It's still pretty solid. For Land of the Witch and the Wardrobe, it was okay. I think for me, I would have given it about a 6 out of 10 back when I first watched it as a kid. Same thing for that too. Voyage of the Dawn Treader, I did not watch yet. I still need to watch that. I actually didn't finish watching Prince Caspian. I have like about a couple minutes left of Prince Caspian that I gotta finish. But then I gotta watch The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And I wanna first off start by saying that that will be in a separate video. I'll probably just I'll I I'm gonna quickly summarize what I felt here about the films, and then I might just go more in detail later in a future video. Who knows? Anyways, uh, yeah. So I haven't watched The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, but I think as a as a kid, I really liked a lot of it. Not the plot. I kind of hated the film, but I liked the cool shots of the they go through the water and it's like they go up and there's just this gigantic fucking boat. Like that's pretty cool. That I want to see if that still stands. Um but I would have given it as a kid, I would have given it like a 4 out of 10 because uh it story-wise just sort of dropped off. Like it just out of all of them, I think it's the most boring. Out of, just it really is really boring because like there's just nothing there. And then it finally kind of picks up in the middle, I believe, and yeah. So I gotta rewatch it anyways. But uh, so yeah, those are my books. Those are my rules for the books of the rules. Sorry, the book of rules. And yeah, I might do another video about the book of rules. This one is just like a sort of like an introductory, I guess. There's no part three, I don't think. I don't think we need to have a part three because I talked about pretty much everything we need to talk about in this video. Uh, so yeah. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, thank you, and I will see you guys fucking later. Bye.